driving. Seems like he's walking a lot slower than it was when I was back on there, but it might just be because I'm not back on there. You know what I mean? Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Working Horse with Jim. Today is such a huge difference in weather than what we've been having the last week or so. It's been up into the 90s, which is 30 Celsius, and today it is supposed to be a high of 68. And even now it's not even 68, it's just barely 60 maybe, or 55, something like that, Fahrenheit. Anyways, Chris and I are out cultivating the corn. As you can see, what we're doing right now is I'm driving a row and he's running a cultivator, and then we swap and he gets to drive a row and I run the cultivator. As you can see, we've done to the right hand side here, and it's coming along pretty good. There's a tremendous amount of quackgrass weeds in this field, and we're living with it, and we're hopefully going to get it under control. Off to our left here is where we haven't done yet, and as you can see, all the green grasses that are there, that's quackgrass. The corn itself hasn't even completely popped through. At least I hope not, because it hasn't come through as good as I'd hoped for. So I'm hoping there's still more that was probably planted a little bit deeper that will still pop through. But as you can see, there's a tremendous amount of quack grass down through there. And if you look carefully, you can see that the yellow rows are the corn. And I say yellow, they're really not yellow, they just look kind of yellow compared to the green quackgrass. Anyways, we will get to work here. Brenda came out to film us a little bit, and then she's got to get to work on something else, and we have to keep at this job. Another thing, actually, I can talk while we work. Careful step. Careful step. So as we cultivate along here, I want to talk about a couple different things. So we're using Ken, a lot of different ways we could be doing this. I could be cultivating with him alone, although I've never actually done that. But I might try with that when the corn gets a little bit taller. But this works fine just the way we're doing it, and I have Chris to help me, so it's not a problem. If Chris wasn't here, I usually would have used one of the girls to ride Ken, and I would have done the cultivating. And that works fine too. But what I would like to do is actually get Baron and maybe even Bill out here for a little bit of time cultivating. Neither one of them have done that before with a single cultivator. I am sure both of them would work fine, but they would not be able to do it alone for some time to come. Baron is a horse that I could potentially see being a good horse on the cultivator down the road. But for this year, if we just get a little time right here just practicing him driving between the rows, that would be great. Now I do have a 2-horse cultivator, which is still just basically a 1-row cultivator. It cultivates kind of between, or it straddles the corn and cultivates a little bit on both sides. This cultivator I'm using right today is also a 1-horse cultivator, but instead of straddling the corn, it does the whole width between the corn rows. At least that's what it's designed to do. So with my 2-row cultivator, which I've used a lot, and that works fine, but generally in this early corn, it's easy to cover it up, if I'm not careful. And so in a way, careful step. In a way, this single horse cultivator works even better, but of course it takes a little more work. Down here at the end, it kind of comes to a point, my corn rows do, so it's a little bit difficult to see where we're going, but I think I can see them. This is not a very big piece of corn, so it really won't take us too long to cultivate it, and I hope to cultivate it quite a few times because of all this quacking. The more I cultivate it, the better off it will be. It's very easy in spots to be going along and kind of lose track of where you're at because some of the corn, like I said, hasn't actually popped through, so it's not a clear path that we're following. Oh, so this is the very center of the field, and this was that one row that is down that doesn't go the whole length, but we won't worry about that right now. I cuffed up. Places, it's really hard to see what we're doing, isn't it?
Yeah, on the right side it's
pretty good, right?
good to see, yeah.
But the left side, it's hard to find them. And I'm on the left side, so that's kind of what I'm watching. When I look way ahead, I can see it better. See it there. Oh, this cultivated, by the way, is one we got from Linda, right?
Kathy.
Kathy's. This cultivated, by the way, is one we got from Kathy earlier this spring, and it's doing the job. My cultivator from last year, I actually made the mistake and ran over it with the skid steer, so I kind of smashed it. So this one here came without a handle on. So we actually went to an Amish place this morning and bought 2 brand new handles for it. But until we get it fixed, we have this old handle that was broken. Got 2 bolts through it, and we got it bolted together and wrapped up with black tape. This is kind of my way of doing things, and it has been working just fine.
We say it's the French way.
This is the French way.
The French way. That's what the Germans say.
What would the Germans say? I mean, what would the French say if they saw a German do it? It must be the German way? Probably.
Probably.
G, 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 G. It is so hard to see the rows with all this quack in the way. We're not going to eliminate all this quack, I'm sure, but I think we'll probably be able to get it under control enough to still have a decent crop of corn, I hope. Corn's actually clearer and better over at this side of the field. I can see it all the way down through. Oh, that's right. It's your turn to drive. Forgot.
Which is easier, guys?
Driving's easier, I think anyways. What do you think, Chris?
It's less exhausting, but well, sometimes if you lose the drag, then it's harder. I think, because here I can rely on what you do, so I know I'm not completely out of track just following the horse.
Right. Whereas when you're driving, if you mess up,
Yeah,
I mess up.
definitely. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Go.
As you can see, when we were picking rocks, we certainly did not get rid of all the rocks in here. There are tons of them.
And the rocks do make the cultivating more difficult.
Yeah, because when you hit a rock, it makes it curve off direction.
All right.
This is really good though because it's getting all the broadleafs, a lot of them. There's a ton of them. Well, I'd better get in and finish my soup and bread for lunch. You guys be in a few minutes?
Yeah, what time is it getting to be?
11:46.
Oh, good. Yeah, quitting time. We'll be right in.
Hi, it's Monday morning, and we had a nice day off yesterday. And Chris and I are down here in the woods. We've come to visit Jim and see what's going on with Jim and Baron and Bill. And he is doing some logging this morning. Chris,
Yeah.
can you...
Just ask.
Can you tell me what your impression of the woods are so far here compared to your woods?
Big. It's all way bigger, of course, than in Europe. And but I have to say, Jim is really taking good care of his woods, as I don't see any really heavy, big old trees. So good job.
Yeah, but you said in Europe a lot of times you see some bigger trees.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. All right. Well, here's Jim and the horses. How's it going?
Good morning, everybody. It's going good. This morning I came down to the woods alone, and we've got a nice day today, and then we get some rain coming in, but it sounds like for the rest of the week. So I want to get a few loads of logs ready to go, and probably this afternoon I'll haul logs home with me. Chris actually went up to the harness shop this morning to talk to Eli, and he's seriously thinking about, I'm assuming you're seriously thinking
Yes,
about getting
definitely.
a set of harness, and Eli's going to make it for him, but we'll talk more about that even in maybe another video. So I've been getting out some logs this morning. Most of these logs are what I get out today. I had a few here from before, but I have a small landing here, and so I have to kind of toss my logs. I got a pile over here, and then some over there, and then I've got these few right here. I'm not gonna move these because I've got 2 trees down right now we'll go get. And so Chris can kind of see how I do my logging up front. He's been watching my videos, but to be able to see it up close, and hopefully he'll have some questions for me and I can stop and answer them, and maybe those same questions he's having you guys might be having also. And so we'll get those 2 trees out, and then we'll probably head home, and this afternoon I'll come back and bring the wagon back. What I do with the wagon is this is a trail that kind of loops all around this plantation, and I'll bring the wagon through here and park it right here and load up onto the wagon. So but let's go down and get a tree or 2 out.
So maybe this might be interesting for you, Jim. I would say this is the biggest piece I could pull with my single horse.
Right.
Which is still, I think, quite
That's
a
a
lot.
fine size for
Without
one
a
horse.
cart.
Right. Yeah.
But
No,
that is he is really too big.
Yeah. But he's probably not in as good a shape as my horses
Definitely
are
not.
either.
Definitely not. Yeah.
So, and yeah, that's not unusual to be that's the size you would handle for one horse.
Yeah.
So. This particular lot is my own land, so I can, do whatever I want with it. And I've been dealing with it for quite a few years, and I've actually have changed kind of my, I guess you could call it my land management plan, and have gone to this spot right here. I'm cutting all the trees in this one spot. But I'm not going to talk about that now. I'll talk about that in another video, exactly why I'm doing that. But for today, we'll just hitch on to these 2 trees and get them out. Check out. Baron has been doing really good. I'm very pleased with his progress as he learns to log with Bill. Sometimes he gets a little bit antsy, wants to run, and when he's pulling, he pulls kind of like a toe hopping type of thing, but that's okay. We'll get him over that with time. And then I'll stop at the other ways and we can talk about that. Yeah. Now I'm pushing onto the whole tree, so both you guys should be back there. Log, and this log here goes out, goes the rest of the tree out. But I got a big limb right here that I got to roll up, and I'm gonna have to cut that. Back. Okay, so what I did, as I'm doing this, I knew I had this stump here, and we're going to straddle it. So I stopped before I get to the stump so I can shorten up my chains really good, so that when we hit that stump, it would pop up over it and less have to get snubbed up. As you've been skidding logs with your single horse, you know that when you're pulling along, if you hit a stump or a rock, it can easily just stop them dead. And it's the same even with the cart. It can happen, but it's very unlikely to happen because of the higher hitch.
Usually what I do, I have to pay attention for the horse, and what I do if I have to do something like that, way before, get like square to it, so that I can roll it over, you know. And the log is like this, and the horse is pulling like this, and roll it over.
Okay.
That's how I do it.
But you wouldn't, in this situation, wouldn't you just go high above it and just go around it with the one horse?
In this situation, I would,
because there's enough room, but you don't always have enough room when you're using a single horse. You have a narrow trail. You had asked about my tug toe and the D-ring, and this might be a good time to talk about that. We were talking earlier about in the barn about a D-ring harness or a straight tug harness, and I was trying to explain to him that this line of draft stays basically the same no matter what height your evener is at. And I don't think you quite understood that, but you see it clearer now. You were telling me.
Yeah.
So if you've got this tug right here and that tug are not a straight line.
Yeah.
And when you have a long tug without a D-ring harness, you will have more of a straight line, which would bring this much higher.
Definitely, yeah.
And that would change your line of draft. And that's one of the beauties about the D-ring harness. It will keep that line of draft in place. So whether you have a high evener or low evener. I was telling Chris this morning, when you just think of this as you're going through a big dip on a road, that your evener, no matter where it is on your cart, there is going to be a huge difference when you go through a big dip. That evener is going to change. And by having the D-ring, the short tug won't change, or at least not much. And it'd just be back here that it would change. So it keeps that line of draft where it belongs.
Does that play a role also?
Does this play a role? In what?
To keep that in position.
No. I mean, I suppose it could some,
Yeah.
but no. The belly girth would actually stop it from coming too high.
Okay.
And it just everything connected makes it stay there. It is, to a degree, that does make a difference on a pole like this, because it's very heavy. So, you know, this, I've talked about this so many times before, you know, you're transferring the weight back to here, but so you have a lot of pressure on this strap right here. And that will help keep this down and keep everything in place too. So it's the combination of all this stuff together.
So have you ever locked with a, what do you say, loose evener?
Okay. Have I ever?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So then you have these straps here?
You mean with this type of harness?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the lazy strap.
Yeah.
All this is. And so when your evener is down low to the ground,
Yeah.
this keeps this from, it helps it so he doesn't step over it so much.
Yes.
Now, in your harnesses in Germany, do you have such a thing?
I have these, yeah.
Okay.
I have these. But I have the, maybe because my horses are too small, I don't know. But if I put it too low, they step over,
Okay.
or he steps over. If I put it too high, I sometimes have the problem that this line of draft is somewhat broken
That
here.
holds it.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
it
Holds
pulls
down the
you
harness.
down.
Yes. Yes. And yes, you do have to adjust these accordingly.
Yeah.
But with this, I don't even need these because the tug is so high.
Yeah.
He'll basically never step over it. Oh. Baron has been improving in his pulling abilities. So a lot of these small trees, I'm hitching right onto the full tree. It's quite often I'll cut it in half, so it's two pieces. But he seems to be able to take it quite well. Even with my rough terrain, I have stumps, I have rocks, I have everything in the trail. And he seems to do quite well. And it's a little bit steep as you go up closer to the landing too. Yeah. If he's still working good when I come back with the next load, we're gonna get to about here and I'm gonna let you drive a little ways just so you can feel what it's like to that on these bigger loads, you know. Yep.
what I have to say. It's steeper as it comes out in the videos. Your land.
It looks steeper in the videos than it is
No,
here.
vice versa.
Oh, vice versa. Okay.
Yeah. In reality, it is steeper when it comes out in the videos.
Yes, I find that it's really hard to catch depth perception in videos or pictures.
Yeah.
I found that when we traveled out west, you cannot get you can't really show what it's like. Maybe if you're an expert photographer or something you can, but now somebody could have a house back here. What do you think about the chainsaw?
Nice. I just was wondering comparing the size because all my chainsaws are steel.
Our son Levi uses all steel too. Is that German?
That's a German brand.
Yes, yeah.
Some people make big discussions
Oh,
out of
yes,
it, which is
yes.
better, but I don't actually care.
It's a big thing in our family.
I started out with steel because my dad always used it, so
Yeah.
I did not care.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have a comparison.
Yep.
I think they're both pretty much the
Also,
same.
yeah, some of it depends on what you have available to get, you know,
Yeah.
get things fixed and all that. I'm gonna come over here.
So Chris, I was wondering if you realized what I did back there.
What I saw was that this piece of lumber was stuck in between the stump and this piece, and you made it like come over the other one, right?
Basically. So I was coming there and something caught. So I stopped. And what I did is I loosened this chain up, tightened this chain up, so that my first foot or two, I actually pulled just that one piece, so it gave it that, it gave it that easier start.
Yeah.
So they started with that, and then boom, that one hit, but they were rolling, so we took it right out of there. And I do that quite often. That's why I like, a lot of times, I'll take a tree like this, instead of just hitching onto the whole tree and pulling the whole tree out, if I cut it in half like this, I have the ability to do little tricks like that, and they're big tricks. They really help a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you notice that as it hits the stumps, how it pops right over the top of them?
Yep.
I remember, I think I probably shared this story before, but I can remember quite a few years ago now, I was on a log job and a friend of mine that had horses came over, and I was kind of bragging or just telling the good things about a cart. And I said, you know, I basically never get hung up on a stump. And didn't I turn around and ask them to go, and I just went a little ways, and I got hung up on a stump. It stopped me dead, and I had to do something. I put a rolling hitch or something on. But generally speaking, I just don't get caught up because of this high hitch as soon as it hits something, it pops up over.
Yep.
There's a lot of advantages to these carts, but there's also a lot of disadvantages and dangers with this cart. When I first got this cart, this particular cart I got it 40 years ago. Yeah, a good 40 years ago I bought it, and it was secondhand at the time. This cart has pulled out so many thousands of feet, it's unbelievable. I've had it for a long, long time. But when I first got this 40 years ago, I was a young 20-year-old, and I would flip this cart over literally 5 or 6 times a day until I got the hang of knowing when and how and the what's the word, physics.
Yeah.
Until I got the physics of it. That's the word I'm looking for. I would flip this over. I mean, it's pretty basic stuff, but I guess I just wasn't too bright because I would just flip it over all the time. And now I still flip it over, but fairly rarely. But when somebody new starts on a cart like this, it is so easy to flip it over. And so that's the big dangers with these. Tap, tap.
That's why you gotta stay behind those suckers going around the corners.
Okay, I wanted to get to this point so they're a straight shot out of here, because coming around that corner it pulls really hard because it's binding on that stump that I was going around. Yeah. I generally do not want anyone to drive a situation like this because he's a young colt. So I just generally don't let people drive, but I'm gonna let you drive. Okay, so I want you to go to the left-hand side of that stump and go right on up through till your logs line up with the rest of the logs, okay? Yeah. If I don't see anything wrong, I'm just gonna let you go the whole way. Oh. But if I see anything wrong, I'm gonna haul it. Sure. But I just want to explain, a young horse like him, if he gets stuck at this stage, it's really bad. No, but if he gets stuck mentally, it's really bad for him.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't let people other than myself work horses at that of this show. When they get to be Bill's age and has had the experience he has had, I find young people or people driving him some, like when we were up at Paul Smith College, I had the class come in and a lot of people drove them, even Paul along. So anyways, let me get off and I will ask you to go. So what I want you to do though, I want you to put both legs right up here and kind of stretch your legs out. And I want you to get good grip of this lines before you take off. You can just put them down there, that's fine. But I want you to get that good grip. And when you ask to go, Bill will take off faster and he'll be more aggressive because he's more used to it. But Baron is right behind him. But I need you to hold Bill back and kind of watch it even. And what we want is that evening to stay together. So let's see what you can do. Go. Careful step. Careful step.
I'm pulling way too hard.
You're pulling too hard. Who's pulling way too hard?
Okay.
Yes, it is steering. You got to steer him.
Yeah.
So you need to steer him over to this side. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Careful.
Careful step.
Good. Oh. Well, you can relay some. What did you think? Interesting. Go ahead and jump off of there. So, was it?
It's definitely different. Needs a different feeling to steer them when they're pulling that hard.
It does.
Yeah.
You gotta know. There's that old saying, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them type of thing. I like to say that quite often. Kenny Rogers' song. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Yeah.
But you do. You have to hold really tight, but you have to know when to release a little bit too, so that you can steer. Because when you're pulling really tight like this, it's hard to steer.
Yep.
But you got to still, you can't release so much because they'll just take right off on you. So yeah, but you did good. You did good. This tree probably has, I don't know. I could guesstimate how many board footage, but I don't know. So I would say that's really good. This is, I guess, all I'm going to cut for today. It's going to be lunchtime by the time we get back, so I will just unhitch and gather up my saw, and we'll head back to the truck. I'm not very efficient right now because I have two log wagons that I can use, but one of them needs a little bit of work. And what I should be doing is driving up here with the truck and having the one wagon up here so I can come in here, get my load, take it back out with me to the truck. So then I go back home and bring the empty wagon up, grab the loaded wagon, and I can just keep going like that. Mm-hmm. But until I get the second wagon fixed, I can't do that. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video today. We'll see you next time.